From milk to meat, the journey grows. Tender steps to stronger bones. Through the desert, through the wheat, every word is bread to eat.
All right, Milk to Meat family, we are back, and I hope everybody had a great holiday and it was festive and Jesus was in the center of it and all of the good things. So we are glad to have you back. Trav, I hope you had a good holiday, my friend.
Man, it was fantastic. But I am so glad to be getting back to this.
Me too. Yeah, and also at this point in time, we're also still in the middle of deer season, so we are hoping and praying to continue to down a few more. Got to put meat in the freezer, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
if you don't like that, I apologize. Look, you just move right on past this part of it. But we do like to hunt the elusive white-tailed deer.
There
So
you go.
you can tell by the way you can't tell, but I'm wearing camo pants and Travis is wearing his camo. This is our favorite color, right? I mean,
That's it.
people ask me all the time, what's your favorite color? To which I reply, camo. Don't really care what shades. Don't care if it's digital
That's it.
print. Just camo. You know what I mean? So that's it. So hopefully we didn't turn too many people off with that, I guess. But
No, that'd be
we're
nice.
real. You know what I mean? So we are what we are. So we love you. We hope you'll stick around even if you don't.
It's not about us.
It's really not about us. It's about Jesus. It's about growing closer in our relationship with the Lord. And so we are on to a new topic at this point, Trav. And so at this point, we are jumping into a new topic. We finished. Well,
We didn't finish.
first of all, there's a lot more to talk about. But if we really are truly going to be about Teshuvah, we never really finish it. It's a continuous journey.
That's
Trav.
it. That's it.
So
We are touching on a new subject,
yes,
and in this section, it's going to be the cost and joy of discipleship. So, Rob, you've got some.
I do. And what we're going to do is we're going to be Trav, I always like going straight to Scripture. So we're going to go read Luke 9:23 through 25, and I'm pulling that up right now. And we're going to just we're going to read that, and then we're going to kind of go through it because this is really, when we talk about discipleship, this is a really core verse that a lot of people talk about. It's preached on, but we're gonna really kind of dissect it a little bit. And so this is part of discipleship is kind of learning to dissect Scripture a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about it. And so we're going to take a little time because I think this one really bears taking apart. We talked about that. So. But it says in Luke 9:23 through 25, and he was saying to them all, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake, he is the one who will save it. For what is a man profited if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul or forfeits himself? There's different translations,
Yeah.
but the common one that a lot of people have heard is, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? Different translations say it different ways, but so we've got kind of a breakdown. One of the things, and I'm not going to try to say it in Greek, but the Greek word for deny, if you want that, you can call my father. My father is a Greek scholar. He will tell you. Not going to get into that. But in verse 23, it talks about if anyone, Jesus' invitation, and this is key, and we know this about salvation. Salvation is universal. So there's not a, there's a portion of Scripture where it says to the Jew first, then to the Gentile, but that was just because Jesus was in Jerusalem,
Right.
Judea. It was in it was in Israel. So it was to the Jew first, but then it was sent to the Gentiles. So it's to everyone. So Jesus's invitation is to everyone. Okay, so when we see that first, if anyone, he's talking to everyone.
That's it.
There's nobody that's excluded at this point. Okay, and it's talking about would come after me, meaning if you're going to be a true disciple, it involves movement and it involves obedience and surrender. So you actually have to make a move. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like, I'm good. Yep, that's for me. But I'm going to keep living my old life. I'm going to keep doing my own thing. I'm going to run the show. I'm going to do everything like I've always done it. No, there has to be movement. There has to be a movement toward Jesus and the idea that, okay, I'm not going to probably be in control because, again, you're following him. You know what I mean? So there's that.
Follow doesn't mean you're in front.
That's true. Yeah. Well, you know what they say, unless you're the lead dog, the view never changes.
That's right.
So, then he says, let him deny himself. Now, deny, that word doesn't just mean, well, it's like, it's not, like if let's say you're trying to lose weight, so you deny yourself ice cream. So you just kind of like, man, I'm not going to have that. We would typically think that's deny. But this that's not what this means. It doesn't mean just like, okay, I have to stop doing bad things. That's not what it means. To deny yourself in this instance, what the Greek is talking about is like renouncing self-rule, rejecting your old self as master, refusing to let desires or ego or your own comfort lead your life. Now that to me sounds a lot different than what we think of denying yourself.
Yeah.
We're like, no, I'll just deny myself TV because that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Now it's not like it's not that you start hating yourself, okay? That's not what it means. We're not saying, okay, let's get into self-hatred. It means self-surrender. What you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to surrender my life to Jesus. I'm going to stop being the person who's seated on the throne of my heart, on the throne of my life. I'm going to surrender, and I'm not going to let my ego, I'm not going to let all those things. And ego, it says that Jesus, God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. So it's interesting. It's hard to, as we go through discipleship, think about this when it talks about God opposing the proud and giving grace to the humble. It's also interesting that he talks about living above offense. How can a slave be offended if we are slaves to righteousness, as Paul talks about? If we are supposed to be God being the potter, we're the clay, the master, that master servant relationship. How can a servant get offended when he has nothing to be proud about?
It's a good point.
Well, and in Romans it says our works. So when we're awesome, like I'm awesome. You know what I did for Jesus? It says our works are as filthy rags. Doesn't mean we don't need to do them. What it means is he's God. Like what can we do that it could? Have you ever thought about that, by the way, Trav? What can you do that can impress God?
I don't know, but I'd like to figure it out.
Oh, hey, now you know what I mean. But I mean, so he's God. He can do anything.
That's it.
Like God thinks and galaxies come into being. You know what I'm saying? He's like, and done. Okay, so that was my. When God has a thought for a day, galaxies are born. You know what I mean?
I usually just stare at the wall.
Just like I'm done. But it is when we faith pleases God. Faith in faith, love, obedience pleases God. And I think that's the thing we're like, well, no, obedience. Jesus said, if you love me, obey my commands. Going, feeding the poor or telling another about, Jesus, living that life, that pleases him. But Jesus was also, interestingly enough, he could have and should have probably had that ego because he's
I
God.
think a good way to put it's a lifestyle change.
It really is.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to
I think that's a good
sum it.
Yeah, to sum it all up is to say, hey, it's a lifestyle change. But then he says to take up your cross daily. And like you just said, it's a lifestyle change. We're dying to ourself, to our sinful desires, to comfort. And again, there's that word pride, dying to pride. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it says, follow me. And following Jesus is about a person. It's not a religion. It involves imitation, obedience, dependence, loyalty, and aligning ourselves with him. Like really reflecting him. So our desires become, his desires
become
our desires.
Right.
So the closer we get to the Lord, the more we reflect his desires. His will becomes our will, right? Where it talks about not my will be done, but thy will be done.
Yeah.
On earth as it is in heaven, And so we get to that, It's so interesting. Um, and we talk about saving, you know, those who want to save their life, we're clinging to control, right?
Yeah.
So we're clinging to the control of our own life. And if you lose it, if you surrender your will, your plans, your desires, and your self rule to Jesus, then you save your life. And there's a paradox. God is his own paradox, and he can be. Have you ever thought about God's accounting system? The first are last, the last are first. The poor will become rich, the rich will become poor. I mean, everything's flipped.
It's opposite.
It's opposite. And it's interesting because everything works that way.
Yeah.
You know, blessed, are the peacemakers, for they'll inherit the. You look, it's not the people who. Well, no, that's not how. You think about the way that the world works. I've got to get mine. God says, if you want to get yours, give it all away.
Yeah.
You want to be taken care of. Take care of everyone else. Prefer your brother. And I thought I remember asking my dad when I was a kid at that point, if I keep preferring everyone else, when is somebody going to prefer me? And that's a good question if you think about it, because
Yeah.
you're a kid. You go, well, what about me? And my dad, I remember his answer. He looked at me and he said, if you're preferring your brother and you're obeying the Lord, then it's the Lord's job, and He makes it His job to take care of you,
That's it.
right? And I'm really okay with that. I'm like, that's awesome. I can do that.
I tell you, that's something I always really struggle with is giving that control away.
Yeah.
And but as I grow in this, I quite enjoy it. Just being like, Lord, I can't do nothing about it. I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And then you just sat back because you couldn't do anything in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But that recognition that you couldn't do it, and you're like, God, you have to handle this.
Yeah. It's and when we give control, now this is the interesting thing, and Trav, you and I have talked about this. When you give away control, it- it's going to be a bumpy ride sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Because I'm going to tell you this: God is nothing if not fabulously interesting.
yeah,
And I'll use that word fabulous because fabulous doesn't just mean awesome. Fabulous means remarkably interesting. It means remarkable. And remarkable doesn't always, it can have I don't want to say negative, but it can have the opposite of like everything is amazing and smooth sailing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? There have been some remarkable storms in my life.
They were not fun.
They were not fun, but they were remarkable in that in the midst of that entire storm,
Yeah.
I saw the Lord so clearly at work. And the storm didn't go away. It just made me understand this. I was not alone.
Oh yeah. I have to say, looking back, that when things were not going the way I wanted was when I could see God the most.
Yeah.
Because when things are going the way I want, I tend to forget.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's interesting. There's a verse in the Bible, and since we're talking about the opposite
Yeah.
of everything, there's a verse that says, "When you're weak, I am strong." And one of the best examples of this that I can ever give you, and I don't share this a lot, but when it warrants it, when I was 17, my mom died,
Yeah.
and it ripped me in half. It really did. Um, and I remember I had to go to school because she died over summer break, just before I had to go back to school for my senior year. And I remember one day I sat on the edge of my bed and I said, and I was, it wasn't like I was giving up suicidally. I was out of strength. I couldn't go another day. I mean, I couldn't, when I say I couldn't go another day, please understand. I just mean I didn't have the strength to get up and start walking around and putting on a smile and everything is okay and everybody's talking to me about the problem. I didn't have it in me that day. And I remember looking and I remember just praying and I'm saying, Lord, I can't get my shoes on today. I can't do it. I'm physically unable to get my shoes on today.
Yeah.
If you do not help me, I'm going to lay back down in bed. And today is just going to be a day where I just basically have a pity party in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to school. And that was when the Lord said, oh, and Trav, I mean, felt this so, Lord goes, well, now you're ready. Now you're finally weak enough
Yeah.
that my strength can be made perfect in you.
Yeah.
And the Lord, you know what? My shoes, and it wasn't this magical thing I felt. It was not this, now I was Superman. You know what, Trav? I was able to get my shoes on and I was able to make it through that day. And it was barely sometimes,
Yeah.
but I made it through that day. And it wasn't, again, I want to be very clear with everyone. It was not this suicidal, it was sadness. I was just sad. I was hurt. I was a 17-year-old kid who missed his mom. And I was just sad. I was hurt. I was, I didn't understand. And the Lord said, you don't need to understand. To this day, I don't understand. But what I do understand is this: God knew, and God was like, I'm going to sit right here on the bed beside you, and I'm going to help you get these shoes on. And then we're going to go eat breakfast. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then after breakfast, we'll figure it out.
That's it.
And it was just step by step through the whole day. But it's interesting. From that point on, I knew, and I've had other storms, big storms, but it was that point in my life where I understood just how real God was
Oh,
in
absolutely.
that storm. And in every other storm, I've remembered back, He's the same God who helped me get my shoes on and helped me tie my shoes and helped me get through that day. And it's interesting. What does it profit us if we gain the whole world?
Yeah.
So if we conquer the world, if we're the richest man in the world and we've lost our connection to God, that's what it's talking about with losing your soul. You lose that connection to who God really made you to be. What does it actually, and we're going to go through, and with all this, we said it a little earlier, you know talking about your dreams and your hopes. You could have them all, but what if you didn't accomplish what God had asked you to accomplish?
Right.
What is that? You gained it all, but did you?
You gained the world.
You gained the world, but God's sitting there going,
I had a
um,
different plan.
I had a plan for
Yeah.
you, you know? So anyway, that's where we are with
That's it.
that's so for all of you listening, this is how we pull apart a verse.
That's it. That's it.
So you pull it apart and you kind of take it piece by piece and research the pieces. What does this word mean and what does it actually mean? And you kind of go through it all. So well done. Thanks for sticking around to, as we pull that apart, and good job and well done. So anything else from you, Trav?
No, we'll continue to dig in on this in the next episode.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And we will see everyone on the next episode of Milk
Milk
to
to
Meat.
Meat.
All right, everybody. Bye bye.